Well, I didn't really want to be here, so I was made to be here. So obviously, I'm just like wanting to get this over with and get on with my life. This is a big inconvenience for me.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. I hope you enjoyed that little reel I created for you that's sort of hinting at this week's topic. I wanted to share this with you because it's something I'm personally working on. And the other night I rented the movie Encanto to watch with my kids. And that's what sort of spawned this whole desire to share this with you in Karma Cards. So I don't know if you've seen the movie yet. It's pretty cute. I'm going to try not to spoil it, but I did want to talk about one of the characters, specifically a song. So it's called Surface Pressure. You can just, look it up and listen to it on YouTube for free and see the whole little vignette. But there was that character, Luisa, struck a chord with me. And honestly, it's like not the one I would choose if my ego was choosing, but her issues were something that was like, it went right into my heart. And I was like, oh man, this is definitely something that my ego struggles with. So I wanted to share it with you in case you find yourself resonating with this problem as well. And it has to do with the fact that we're putting pressure on ourselves to hold it together or to be the strong one or try to be all the things. Anybody resonate with that as well? Trying to be all the things? Or you constantly worry that unless you can prove somehow that you're worthy or that you have strength or that you can hold it together, that maybe you have none of those things. Maybe you're weak. Maybe you're not worthy. Maybe you can't hold it together. And so it's this constant pressure, this constant tension in your life where there is a deep-seated fear of a lack of worthiness, a lack of strength, or a lack of having it together with this very physical pushing yourself to your limits to prove that you can. If you relate to that, then baby, you and I, we're on the same page. We're working on the same stuff. And I want to share some insights with you just to kind of help highlight it and let you know what's at work here, what's at play, and what we're being asked to realize and maybe shift in our own life. So on a personal level, one of the things that I have come to understand is that there is a part of me, right? Probably my ego. There's a part of me that likes to push me to my limits in terms of strength. So I do this sometimes when I work out. Sometimes I work out too hard. With my work, like let's see how much I can get done in a day. But it's just become a pattern that I've started to notice. And here's what's interesting. And the reason I became aware of it is because my body was like, no, I have no more to give you for that. And lately it's been asking me to rest more and more and more. And I'm like, can we stop resting? That was kind of my joke in the reel I shared with you, is like, I don't want to rest because my mind wants to keep going. My ego is like, nope, push. Be productive, get the most out of today, get the most out of yourself. While my body is like, no, it's time to relax. It's time to take a break. So one of the lines in the song, Surface Pressure from Encanto, that like went right into my heart was the line, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service. Now, those of you who know your Enneagram type, if you're a type 2 or 3, listen, this is our problem, both 2s and 3s. Now, I am a 3 with a wing too, so it's like it really got to me. So I'll say it again. The line is, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service. And what that shows is two things, that like the Enneagram type 2 is the one that's very service to others oriented. And they have to constantly be doing for others because their greatest fear is that they won't be loved if they don't show up for other people. with a type 3, they're the achiever, and their greatest fear is that they're worthless unless they can prove their value. So this statement, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service, like really nails a 3-wing 2 in my opinion. And I think that, this actually affects quite a few souls who are on the service to others path, which is the positive polarity. We are so aware that we want to make sure that our actions are supporting the greater good, right? Everyone, that we can get our egos can attach to that. So a lot of times people think the ego attaches to something negative, and the result, I would say, is something negative, but it can attach to something that's even something pure. It can attach to something good. And that's why we have the axiom, too much of a good thing, right? That's a saying in humanity. There is too much of a good thing. So you can take anything out of balance, whether it's good for you or not. Think about this. Like if you drink too much water is really good for you. But if you drink too much water, it can actually cause problems. So there is a balance point. So this thought of, if I can't be of service, I'm worthless, that's attaching our worth to something that we do. And one of the things that I know we all need to understand is that our worth is inherent. In fact, I did 2 podcast episodes on my Modern Mystic Soul podcast about inherent worth, and I go into more detail there. So this is interesting because I recorded that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it's coming back full circle now, and I'm like, okay, Therese is still working on this, and that's why I felt the need to share it with you, because this is a trap. This thought that you have to be doing something constantly to have value, and that if you're not constantly doing something or proving something, then you don't, right? So that's why a lot of us who hold this belief have a hard time taking a break or resting, because the fear is, if I stop, it all goes away. All the love I've received, all the praise I get, all the advancement I've made, all stops when I take a rest. And yet to continuously keep going, if we actually stopped and broke that down, we would see that's quite unnatural. Like, look at the day. So natural patterns are cyclical. Anytime you watch nature, you're going to see a cycle happen. And there's always a peak in the cycle, and there's always an ebb in the cycle. So if we just look at a day, for example, if we were supposed to ourselves continue to just keep pushing and going and never stopping, that would be like the sun continuously being up and never setting, never going down, never having night. Now, if we experience that in our life, we'd be like, whoa, something is wrong here. Like, this is scary. Unless you're in Alaska where it's kind of, that's to be expected. If you were to experience that in the middle regions of the earth, you'd be freaked out, because that's not natural. And it's not natural for us to do it as well. So when we are pushing ourselves to constantly do and go and constantly serve, we're being unnatural. But here's the thing. The social programming you often hear me talking about praises us for being unnatural, right? So it comes from the dark group. It comes from that negative timeline, and it is a destructive thought process. It's a thought matrix that's meant to be destructive. And it even alludes to it in this song about how we measure our growing pressure as a badge of honor, right? So we're conditioned to think that the more burdensome or hectic or chaotic your life becomes, the more you're really doing, the more you're really living. If you're trying to be all the things, then you're really trying, versus someone who allows themselves to be in the moment. And the sad thing is that some of us will crush ourselves under the weight of the pressure we put on ourselves to be everything, to be perfect, or to be all the things, all the time. And you can really tell if this is active in you, because maybe you're actually doing well in one area of your life, but you can't feel it because you're also focused on the areas that you're not doing well. So if you're doing well at your job, then you're focused on the fact that you're not fully present with your family. vice versa. You might be fully present with your family, but you're not doing a job or pursuing a career, and therefore feel less than worthy because you're not doing both. It's insanity that we subscribe to these thoughts. It's not us subscribing to these thoughts, it's the ego, because this matrix, right, is designed for the ego. It's designed to help the ego thrive, because the ego believes that it somehow isn't worthy. It's somehow separate. That's what it was created for, to create an illusion of separation so that you could make a pure choice about who you are. Unfortunately, we let the illusion pull us in. We start to believe it, and we start to subscribe to the thoughts that this illusion creates. And that can lead us to really separating from ourselves, because when you separate from your sense of worth, you're separating from who you truly are. There's nothing that you have to do to be valuable and worthy. That's what you were born as. In fact, if we want to get really technical, you were never actually born. You're an eternal being, sort of experiencing part of yourself through a game. And I talk about that more in my podcast as well. That's part of the choice series. So if this is you're like, wait, what? Where did you get that from? I encourage you to check out my Modern Mystic Soul podcast, where I go deeper into those details. So to get back to it, if you find that you're criticizing yourself, or you might actually be doing well in one area of your life, but you see that not everything is going as well, then it's tempting to criticize yourself and saying you're not doing enough. You're basically worthless unless you can do the whole circus at once. And we have to recognize that we're actually only given a certain measure of vital energy per day. It's like, imagine that you have a budget every day, but in this case it's for energy, which you do. And however, you can spend it however you want, but once it's spent, it is spent. And yet we expect ourselves to have this sort of renewable, constant source of this vital energy, that it never depletes, but that's not true. And it's not true because if you've ever pushed yourself really hard, how easy is it to recover after that? Some of us need like a whole day if we've pushed ourselves really hard. Like, you might notice that, you can push yourself really strong for one day, and then the next day you're a pile of mush. And that's because you overspent the budget of vital energy that you had. And of course, while I was working on developing this message for you with my team, I also decided to listen to some more Law of One, and it of course just kept reinforcing this message, and I wanted to share it with you. So this is from the Law of One, session 94, where Ra is talking about those who are seeking spiritual growth. And I know I'm talking directly to you when I talk about this. So to paraphrase what Ra states, he said, seekers have done substantial work. So let me go back and kind of set this up for you so you understand this answer. The channel had asked her companions to ask a question, because she's channeling Ra, and this is one of those body channeling. So her consciousness isn't present while she shares these messages. So what she does is she has the team, the questioner ask her questions to Ra so she can get answers. And the question was in regards to some of her own growth process that she was experiencing, and she was noting that there was some immaturity in her, that she hadn't fully processed or done the full amount of personal work, and that she had somehow gotten by coasting on her spiritual strength and doing this channeling work, but it hadn't done the personal work. So this is Ra's response in general to all spiritual seekers. And he said, seekers have done substantial work in themselves and have indeed developed maturity and rationality, while also having parts that desire development active as well. Right? So what he's saying here is that her focus is on what still needs to be developed, rather than the fact that there's been quite a bit of development that has already taken place. So then Ra states, when the seeker fails to see that which has been accomplished and only focuses on that which remains to be accomplished, the seeker should ponder the non-efficacy of judgment. So what Ra is saying here, and by the way, Ra is a multi-being entity. So I think I said he when I meant we. Sorry, my brain was like, derp. What Ra is saying here is, look, you wouldn't be where you are if you haven't done some amazing work. Yeah, there's more work to do. There's always going to be more work to do. But if you're constantly focused on what you haven't accomplished versus what you have, then you are judging yourself. And there is no efficacy in that. It's not effective. They said, can ponder the non-efficacy of judgment. I will be doing this. I will be pondering the non-efficacy of self-judgment here. So the beautiful thing about a seeker is that they desire to grow and be more. The beautiful thing about you is you desire to grow and be more. But do not let the fact that you have more to go, farther to go, diminish what you have done for yourself. And do not diminish what you came in with. That means you did some work before you got here, right? If you believe in reincarnation, you've done a lot of work. It's not just happening in this lifetime that you're consciously aware of. You've been working your ass off for millennia, and you are an immortal being who is ever evolving. And from that perspective, we have no judgment of ourselves. We recognize that I'm always going to desire to expand because I am source, and source desires to expand. We are all source, right? We are all going to want to keep going. That is immortality right there. That is what it means to be an immortal being. So from this level, we're being asked by our higher selves, by those in spirit witnessing us, to really cut ourselves some slack here. You are valuable. You are worthy. You have done the work. Yeah, you've got some more work to do, but honor the journey you're on. Recognize how far you have come. And use that as a sense of anchoring and trust to know that you're going to go a lot further. You are, because you desire it, because you are seeking it. And that which you seek, you shall find. And so what it really comes back to, again, it always comes back to self-trust. You got to trust yourself. If you're trusting yourself, you're not judging yourself. If you're judging yourself, you can know you're not trusting yourself as much as maybe you could. So what I want to do, what I want to end with before we do karma cards is just talking about, okay, if this is resonant for you, if you're like, oh my God, this is like me to a T, what can we do to help ourselves move forward? Number one, acknowledge how far you've come. Acknowledge where you are kicking butt. Acknowledge where you've really shown in your life, right? So we can hold that and have respect and appreciation for the work that we do. Next, see if you can bring yourself back to this moment, because if you're judging and you're going, but I haven't done this, you're also projecting into the future, which creates anxiety because you can't control that shit. Can't control the future. That's why it makes you so anxious. So you got to bring yourself back into this moment. And in this moment, notice what most of you wants to do. If most of you wants to go outside and go for a walk and just have fresh air and, disconnect from the technology and whatever, do that. That's what's most required in this moment. If you need to rest, that's what's most required. If you feel like, no, I need to sit down and journal or whatever, do some work, that's what's required in the moment. And if we stop trying to be all the things and just be present with what's in the moment, we will be the appropriate thing we need to be in that moment. So with that, let's do some karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly go over with you how this works. So I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I got 3 cards, but 2 sets of answers, one in action and one in outcomes. And the way that you play is you just tune in and feel whether you need action-related answers or outcome-related answers. And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're feeling into that, this reading is for February, I have to think what month it was, February 10th through the 17th. And the flavor of this reading, well, we've got Uranus, which is the plot twist planet, so surprises and changes, okay? And the sign of Virgo, which is actually a very steady sign, so it's an interesting combination right there. Virgo also represents health, wellness, and service to others, as well as work we do. In the 8th house, the house of transformation, so surprise changes in service maybe, in the house of transformation. So change. Sorry, I'm trying to work this out before I read it. The 8th house is the house of life, death, taxes, and mystery. So let's see what they have to say. All right, if you chose action, your spiritual action is stir up the situation by using service of others as a life or death issue. What? Well, I have to laugh because it literally was part of the message today was the service to others. Stir up the situation by using the service of others as a life or death issue. I kind of feel like it's the same message we keep getting, which is remember, how does service to others work if nobody is there to receive, right? Like part of the understanding of service to others, which is so tricky because of course the opposing path is service to self. So it's easy for a well-intentioned person to be like, I can't take anything because I'm service to others. And it's like wrong. That's not quite how it works, because who's left to serve if everyone is serving? Like, it doesn't make sense. Remember, it's cyclical. It goes around, it comes around. If you're in the moment, if you're supposed to be doing the serving or receiving the serving. So again, we're being asked to have that awareness that it's service to others doesn't ask you to be a martyr and take nothing. It means take only what you need, where service to self is take it all. So if you can think about it like that, that helps you balance it. Take only what you need versus take it all. Right? And the life or death issue, right? So these 2 cards, Uranus and the 8th house, tend to be a little bit more extreme in their approach. So one wants you to get in there and start making some changes, and the other one wants you to see the immediacy of it, right? So there's a life or death issue. It's like get shit or get off the pot. Sorry, that's what they're saying though. It's like now or never. Make that happen. So we're being asked to really look at this, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you feel, to think about that you're supposed to be receptive as well, or to be receptive if you're not currently being receptive. That's what's being asked of you at this time. Mental action. Be open to new ideas about the details of getting and using power. Okay. Getting and using power. So again, I've talked about how we also, through the programming we've been through, the mental, social programming, we have a very distorted idea of what power is. So power, in the way that we have been taught about it and try to understand it, is control. That's what it really is in a negative sense is control. That's not what power is. Power is the awareness of who you really are. Power is that silent stillness and the awareness that you are source. You are an eternal being. You're divinely connected and always protected. You are one with everything. And so things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you because you're part of the creative process. So be open to new ideas about the details of getting and using power. They're saying like clean up that idea of what power is, because so many light workers, so many starseeds, so many healers are afraid of the concept of power because of the misuse they see. But what we really need to identify is that's not power, that's control. When you need to control another being, you're not in a state of power, you're in a state of chaos. And you really are missing out on the truth because you can't control another. The most you can do is kind of persuade another to give you their personal power, but that's still control. Ultimately, you cannot control another being. And those who think that that's what power is are going to learn some serious lessons about the fact that you cannot control others. And those who understand what power is will learn sovereignty and be able to stand strong in themselves because they don't need to control another person. They just need to have the sense of awareness of, I know who and what I am, and I know my worth. Physical action at this time: invent a way, do what you must do, and use other people's resources. All I'm getting is that this action is very much connected to New Earth. It's time for us to understand that the old structures have and are crumbling. They're falling apart, and we're being asked to build the new structures alongside of it. We're being asked to build the parallel. We're being asked to build parallel education, parallel economy, parallel communication. We're being asked to build New Earth together. So that is what using other people's resources are. And this is just also reminding us of how incredibly adaptable you are as a human being. So no matter what life throws your way, you can adapt to it. So this invent, right? Human beings are highly inventive. In fact, what I understand is that humanity is sought after throughout the universe by other groups because we are the kind of tinkers, creators, inventors of the universe. That's how humanity is special, is our ability to create and think up things and draw the energy of source through us and then let it be translated through us in what we create, which is pretty cool if you think about it. All right, now let's look at outcomes for Uranus in Virgo in the 8th house of transformation. So spiritual outcome: an unusual example of methods for the healing power of personal power. Wow. The more you learn to trust yourself, the more you recognize your own worth and stand in your sovereignty, right? And sovereignty and power are about knowing what you really are. It's about that self-awareness and the actualization of you, the embodiment of what you really are. That is personal power, and it has a massive healing effect. And it's not going to be something that people expect because we're so conditioned to what is healing, right? What is power? What is healing? It's going to produce a really cool, unusual outcome by having the awareness of it. And again, this is asking us to move into it. So remember, if you haven't moved into this yet, don't worry. It's not asking you for mastery. It's asking you for awareness of what is power, what is healing, right? And once you've moved into these ways of perception, these new ways of seeing it, it creates an unusual example of it, which is pretty cool. Mental outcome at this time: a different way of looking at the analyzing of the mysteries of life. As you learn to see the concepts of power, of worthiness, of healing, whatever it is you're looking at, as you learn to expand it and see it differently, it's naturally going to shift your perspective because it's going to crack you open more. Uranus asks us to open our minds. It is very forward thinking, and it is the planetary ruler of Aquarius, which is the age we have started. So our minds are going to be cracked open, and this is just saying that the mysteries of life will expand. They're not set, right? They're not set for us. Nothing is set. That's another thing that we get sort of conditioned to believe when we're looking at a very physical, matter-based world, is that things are set. They're not. They're constantly unfolding and expanding. And as we shift the perspective, kind of like looking through a kaleidoscope, we're going to start seeing something unfold that we didn't see before. And we can only be shown it once we're ready, which means we have to question. We have to look into things and be like, what is power? Do I know what power is? Is there anything else it could be? And sort of like, look at it differently. As soon as you do, it's like the door cracks open a little more and you get a deeper understanding of the mystery in front of you. Physical outcome, an unexpected change resulting from the perfectionism of a major change. I mean, sometimes these cards read so weird. Unexpected change resulting from the perfectionism of a major change. So clearly a major transformation is coming forward, and parts of it we will understand. Like parts of the change will make sense to us, but what this is saying is that there is bonus changes that we're not even aware of, which means even if we try to hypothesize what comes from a major change, major shift, and this feels very much like the big density shift that we're expecting. Some of it we think we know. There's other parts that are going to blow our minds. I'm kind of excited about it. It's kind of like a gift. You don't want to know everything. You want to have your kind of guess about what it might be, but you don't want to be told everything. So all that says to me is that we have a couple more exciting things to look forward to that we don't even know yet. I mean, typical universe, that's what I would expect. So with that, I hope that you have a beautiful week. If you're feeling pressure, if you're pressuring yourself, what is the greater part of you asking for? Is it asking for understanding? Is it asking for a break? Is it asking for you to tune in or step back and take a breath? Whatever it is, do try to honor that and understand that the pressure you put on yourself is coming from the ego and not your higher self. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.